The three major geographical areas in the Philippines are the large island of Luzon in the north, which includes Manila, the large island of Mindanao in the south, and the group of islands lying between them, known as the Visayas. The Philippines is rich in natural resources. The climate of the Philippines is tropical and maritime. It is characterized by relatively high temperature, high humidity, and abundant rainfall. The Philippines' capital and main port of entry is Manila. The Philippines' total population was 111.8 million. And also, the total population of the city of Manila reached to 14,406,059 based on the 2022. In East and Southeast Asia, there are countries around the Philippines that are connected to each other. New Zealand is one of the countries not very close to the Philippines. By flight, it takes about 10 hours and 28 minutes to get from the Philippines to New Zealand. However, the Philippines and New Zealand have good trade relations with each other. New Zealand exports dairy products, meat, wood, and food to the Philippines. Links between the Philippines and Australia have been through the explorations being conducted by Spanish sailors in the Pacific. Early contacts between the Philippines and Australia have been in the form of trade. Another contributing factor to early Philippines-Australia relations is the Filipino migrant workers. The earliest Filipino workers were called the Manila Men, and they worked in the pearling industry in northern Australia. Trade ties are one of the strengths of the bilateral relations. More than 280 Australian companies create 40,000 jobs in the Philippines. Australian investments of close to $500 million across a multitude of sectors contribute to knowledge sharing and economic growth. Some of the Australian companies in the Philippines include ANZ Bank, Austal, Cardno, Crone Partners, Greenstone, IDP, Macquarie, OceanaGold, Orica, Qantas, QBE Group. Philippines and Indonesia are an archipelago, and have massive amounts of islands. Indonesia has 17,000 islands, about 6,000 of which are inhabited. The biggest islands are Sumatra, Java, Kalimantan, Sulawesi, and the Indonesian part of New Guinea. Philippines, however, has 7,641 islands. The most beautiful islands in the Philippines are Boracay, Palawan, Coron, and El Nido. The languages Filipino and Indonesian have some similarities in words. The total flight duration from Jakarta, Indonesia to Manila, Philippines is 3 hours, 57 minutes. The main products that Indonesia exported to Philippines are coal briquettes, cars, and motorcycles and cycles. In the pre-colonial era, before Portugal then the United Kingdom conquered Malaysia, and before Spain then the United States conquered the Philippines, the Malaysian and Philippine kingdoms had datus, rajas, and sultans who intermarried with each other and were related. They are both founding members of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. Both countries are of Malayo-Polynesian stock, and both are important trading partners. Two practical and viable areas that would benefit from closer cooperation are the halal industry and digital economy. The top 5 main exports of Malaysia to the Philippines are electrical and electronic products, palm oil and palm oil-based agricultural products, petroleum products, chemicals and chemical products, and iron and steel. The Philippines and Singapore enjoy more than 50 years of diplomatic ties. Singapore is the 5th largest trading partner of the Philippines in the world and largest in ASEAN. Singapore is also one of the Philippines' biggest sources of foreign investments. There are a lot of Filipinos in Singapore, considering that it is one of the Philippines' closest neighbors in the region. Flight distance from Manila to Singapore is flight time is 3 hours and 17 minutes. The Philippines-Vietnam relations refers to the bilateral relations of the Republic of the Philippines and the Socialist Republic of Vietnam. Since the end of the Cold War, relations between the two countries have warmed significantly. There was proof that inhabitants of both countries were already involved in maritime trade prior to the arrival of Europeans. Ships from Luzon in the Philippine archipelago came to the great port of Vietnam in the Gulf of Tonkin to trade. The main products exported from Vietnam to Philippines were rice, cement, and semi-finished iron. The fastest direct flight from Vietnam to Philippines is 2 hours 20 minutes. The Philippines established formal diplomatic relations with Thailand on 1949. The relations between the two are described as warm and friendly. Thailand is one of the Philippines' major trade partners and one of the Philippine sources of rice through Thai exports. During 2020, Thailand had a large net trade with Philippines in the exports of machines, transportation, and plastics and rubbers. The air travel shortest distance between Philippines and Thailand is 2.51 hours. Relations between People's Republic of China and the Philippines have suffered due to the worsening South China Sea dispute. Recently, the Philippines has been rapidly improving its relations and cooperation with China on various issues, developing a stronger and stable ties with the country, as well as a successful code of conduct with China and the rest of ASEAN. The conflict between China and the Philippines in the Western Philippine Sea, the South China Sea, is the result of years of territorial dispute over the Spratly Islands, a group of 7,500 islands and reefs that multiple countries have claimed as their own. The main products that China exported to Philippines are refined petroleum, integrated circuits, and broadcasting equipment. The total flight duration from China to Philippines is 4 hours, 12 minutes. Bilateral relations between the Philippines and Korea started on 1949 when the Philippines became the 5th country to recognize the Republic of Korea, which was inaugurated on 1948. The friendship was cemented by the Philippine deployment of the Philippine Expeditionary Force to Korea during the Korean War in the 1950s to help South Korea defend itself from the invasion of the North. The main products that South Korea exported to Philippines are integrated circuits, refined petroleum, and copper wire. The total flight duration from Seoul, South Korea to Manila, Philippines is 3 hours, 45 minutes. Relations between Japan and the kingdoms in the Philippines date back to at least the pre-colonial period of Filipino history or the Muromachi period of Japanese history. Japan remained a major source of development funds, trade, investment, and tourism in the 1980s, and there have been few foreign policy disputes between the two nations. Japan has been the Philippines' biggest source of bilateral official development assistance since 2001, with its ODA loans to the Philippines accounting for 72% of the Philippines' total bilateral loan portfolio as of 2021. The significance of the strategic partnership of both countries is anchored on collaboration and cooperation under shared universal values including freedom, democracy, the rule of law, respect for basic human rights, and a free and open economy. Trade in June 2022, the top exports of Japan to Philippines were refined petroleum, integrated circuits, commodities not elsewhere specified, insulated wire, and office machine parts. The total flight duration from Japan to Philippines is 4 hours, 14 minutes. The Philippines and the United States of America has a long and storied history with each other. Filipinos are the oldest Asian ethnic group in the Americas. The 1898 Philippine Revolution against Spain was inspired by the French and American Revolutions. The United States eventually purchased the Philippines from Spain in the Treaty of Paris, and afterwards, the Americans invaded and destroyed the First Philippine Republic. And the Philippines was an American dependency until the mid-1960s. Philippines was the United States' 30th largest goods export market. The top export categories were electrical machinery, cereals, wheat, oilseeds and oleaginous fruits, soybean flour and meal, machinery, and dairy, eggs, honey. The total flight duration from United States to Philippines is 16 hours, 44 minutes. Canada and the Philippines will mark their 74th year of friendly bilateral relations in 2023. The national interests of both countries align on many issues, which have resulted in regular collaboration in the multilateral system, such as ASEAN, United Nations, Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation, and the World Trade Organization. Canada supports efforts by the Philippines to advance inclusive and accountable governance, diversity, human rights, and the rule of law. Top Canadian exports include meat, mineral ores, wood, cereals, and precious stones and metals. Increased exports of meat and wood played a key factor in the increase in total merchandise exports in 2021. The average Toronto to Manila flight time is 16 hours and 25 minutes. During the time we spent watching this video, we knew interesting and useful information about the geographical position and location of the Philippines, its weather conditions and population, as well as the countries that are located around the Philippines and thus are more connected to each other. Video is published on this channel. Thank you for being with us.